Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel where we dive deep into the minds of history's most fascinating figures. Today, we're unlocking the mysteries behind one of the greatest philosophers of all time, Aristotle. But trust me, we're not just talking dusty old books. There's a lot more to this guy than you might expect. Stick around because by the end of this video, you'll discover 12 surprising things you never knew about Aristotle. And hey, before we jump in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for more mind-blowing videos about history, philosophy, and more. Let's get into it. Scene: visuals of ancient Stagira, Aristotle's birthplace, with illustrations of Greek life. Host: so, let's kick things off with Aristotle's early life. Did you know he was born into a wealthy family? Yep. Aristotle was born in 384 BC in a small town called Stagira in northern Greece. His father was a doctor to the royal family, so young Aristotle had quite the head start in life. But when his parents passed away, he was sent to Athens to study at Plato's academy, the most prestigious school in the world at the time. Imagine going from wealth to the world's most influential philosophy class. Scene: imaginary classroom, Aristotle as a student listening to Plato's teachings. Host: speaking of Plato, Aristotle was his star pupil. Or was he? Here's where things get interesting. Although Aristotle studied under Plato for 20 years, they didn't always see eye to eye. Plato believed in a world of forms, perfect abstract concepts like truth and beauty. Aristotle? He was more grounded in the physical world, thinking everything could be understood through observation and logic. It's like Plato was the dreamer and Aristotle was the scientist. Scene: visuals of Aristotle teaching a young Alexander the Great in a garden. Host: here's something you might not know. Aristotle wasn't just a philosopher, he was also a tutor to one of history's most famous conquerors, Alexander the Great. When Aristotle was 40, he became the private tutor of young Alexander. Can you imagine that? Teaching the future ruler of the known world. It's said that Aristotle's teachings on leadership and ethics influenced Alexander's empire-building mindset. Scene: animation of Aristotle dissecting animals and making notes. Host: Aristotle wasn't just about philosophy, he was a bit of a science nerd too. He's actually known as the father of biology. Aristotle was one of the first people to classify animals and study their anatomy in a systematic way. He observed over 500 species and created one of the earliest systems of classification. That's right. Long before Charles Darwin, Aristotle was putting together the puzzle pieces of the natural world. Scene: dusty scrolls hidden in a cave with dramatic music in the background. Host: here's something crazy. Most of Aristotle's works were lost for centuries. We know Aristotle wrote over 200 texts, but only about 31 survived. These lost works are like the holy grail of philosophy. Imagine the knowledge we could have if we found them all. In fact, some of his writings were discovered in the Middle Ages and translated into Arabic, helping to shape the Islamic Golden Age. Scene: a modern office setting with people making ethical decisions. Host: now, this one will surprise you. Aristotle's ideas about ethics aren't just ancient history. They still influence the way we think today. He believed in the concept of the golden mean, which says that the best way to live is by finding a balance between extremes. For example, courage is the balance between recklessness and cowardice. Sounds pretty modern, right? Scene: a visual comparison of Aristotle's thoughts on women and modern-day feminism. Host: but Aristotle wasn't all ahead of his time. His views on women, well, let's just say they didn't age well. He believed women were incomplete men and thought they should have a subservient role in society. Yikes. Thankfully, we've come a long way since then, but it's a reminder that even great minds can have flawed ideas. Scene: an ancient Greek political assembly with Aristotle writing on a tablet. Host. Aristotle also had a lot to say about politics. He thought the best government was a mix of monarchy, aristocracy, and democracy, what he called a polity. His work, Politics, is still studied today and influenced the creation of modern political systems. Ever heard of checks and balances? Aristotle had a hand in that. Scene. Animated equations and logic puzzles with Aristotle's face superimposed. Host. If you've ever taken a class on logic, you have Aristotle to thank. He invented the first formal system of logic, which philosophers still use today. His famous syllogisms, like all men are mortal, Socrates is a man, therefore Socrates is mortal, are the foundation of logical thinking in many fields, from mathematics to computer science. Scene. A cathedral with Aristotle's writings overlaid on stained glass windows. Host. Did you know Aristotle's ideas had a huge influence on Christian theology? Yep. His works were rediscovered in the Middle Ages and used by scholars like Thomas Aquinas to explain Christian doctrines. Aristotle's philosophy became a core part of Catholic thought, blending reason and faith in a way that shaped Western theology. Scene. Renaissance paintings of Aristotle being discussed by scholars in Italy. Host. During the Renaissance, Aristotle made a comeback in a big way. His writings were rediscovered, translated, and studied by scholars all over Europe. The Renaissance thinkers saw Aristotle as a bridge between the ancient world and modern science. His work on logic, ethics, and politics became the bedrock of education during this time. Scene. A montage of modern movies, books, and shows referencing Aristotle. Host. Finally, Aristotle's influence isn't just limited to the classroom. You'll find his ideas all over pop culture, from movies like The Matrix, which explores the nature of reality, to self-help books that talk about finding balance in life. Aristotle's thoughts on logic, ethics, and the human experience are still super relevant today. And there you have it, 12 surprising things you never knew about Aristotle. If you found this video enlightening, make sure to give it a thumbs up and share it with a friend who could use a little philosophical wisdom. Don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into history's greatest minds. See you next time. Thank you for watching. Check out these other videos for more fascinating insights into philosophy and history.